Welcome to the Fix My Insurance Agency podcast. Each podcast will share the conversations, best practices, experiences, and influences that have generated over $1 billion in insurance premium. So sit back and let us help you fix your insurance agency. Hey everybody, it's Billy Williams. Absolutely appreciate you guys being here today. This is sponsored by the Fix My Insurance Agency workshop, 2 days of nothing but processes and implementation. And I am so honored to have Bradley Flowers on today, the legend, the myth, the man, Mr. Flowers. So how are you, Brad?
I'm good, Billy. How are you doing?
Oh man, I'm so blessed. It's crazy. I'm blessed and highly favored. So, Brad, I don't do a long intro. I like to jump right in. I know that our listeners are busy. So first thing is, you've been blowing up. I mean, I know your podcast is blowing up. I know you guys are selling a lot of insurance. Where did that journey start?
I'll tell you a funny story. I talked to a lot of insurance agents, and almost every one of them, when we ask that same question, they say, well, I never planned on being an insurance agent, right? And I'm sure you've heard that as well. I was actually 16 years old, and I told my dad I wanted to be an insurance agent.
Oh.
And the reason was different than my reason for doing it now. But the reason is I was a golfer, played golf in college, and all the people that got to play the most golf were insurance agents. And I was like, I want to do what those guys are doing. And
Right.
So about age 20, I guess it'd be 10 years ago, 21, 22, I started at working in insurance, working for Liberty National, selling life insurance commission only. So glad I did it, but would never do it again.
You know what, though? But it gives you a whole different journey, because life insurance, in my opinion, is the most important product that I can put in your household. It is the most important product. You heard me say this, I think, on a previous podcast we did. I said, if it was 5 minutes before you were about to die and I could write you one product, you wouldn't ask me to write you a home, a auto, commercial, GL. You'd say, get some life insurance for my family. So if it's that important 5 minutes before you die, it's that important every time we talk to a customer.
It's the only thing you can't buy when you need it.
Yep.
Absolutely. At the prior agency I worked at before starting my independent, my manager at the time, sales leader, I would go into this. They push life insurance heavy, and I would go into these modes where I would just put tens of thousands on the books, and would go from being kind of middle of the pack production wise to just exploding. Or if let's say we were coming down to the end of the year and we had a goal to hit, I would always hit it. Like even in like December, I had, December in insurance is kind of one of those taboo months where you're not going to have a good month in December, which you and I both know it's all in here. And I would always
here, guys, for those of you on the podcast, he's pointing at his head. He's pointing at his head going, it's all in your head.
So I would always have great Decembers. And finally one day my district manager asked me, he's like, what helps you do that? And I said, honestly, I go back in my head to those Liberty National days where, and this is obviously a figure of speech, but I didn't eat if I didn't get paid, or if I didn't write something. And so I pretend that if I don't sell, $2,000 or $3,000 in life insurance per day, that I'm not going to get paid. So
I got you. Now that's the result, but let's go to the meat of this. Okay. What were the actions that you did that allowed you to even get in front of the right prospects to sell life insurance?
Man, a lot of it was, I think I'm a big believer in that there's gold in your book. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of it was going to my book of business and just looking for opportunities. I'll tell you, one of the things I would do that a lot of agents would shake their heads at is I would go out into the office where the CSR would sit or a receptionist would sit, and I would take payments.
Right.
And other agents would look at me like, he's so dumb. But there's literally gold taking those payments. And it was good 2 reasons. One, I could pick up some life for myself, but also I was showing my CSR or our receptionist how to do that as well. And what I would do is when I would process someone's payment, I would not tell them that it was processed yet, because I was looking at their account and I was looking for an opportunity. Hey, I see you don't have any life insurance here. Where do you keep that at? Where's your life insurance? It's an open-ended question. It's not, do you have life insurance? Yes, no. It's, where's your life insurance at?
Right.
Another thing I started doing that worked really, really well, I fell in love with writing buy-sell life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do a lot of prospecting on LinkedIn. At one time, I changed my bio and my profile to the buy-sell life insurance guy.
Okay.
And something to that effect, not that exactly. And I would go look for business owners on LinkedIn who had partners, and I would just engage with their content, which I think is key. I'm not sending a cold DM. I'm just engaging with them and then hoping they'll see that. In a lot of cases, that worked out to some really, really good buy-sell agreements. But man, at the end of the day, just pick up the dang phone and call somebody.
Right. Talk to somebody.
We can talk to, and I'm big on social media. You know that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people listen, but like at the end of the day, pick up the phone and call somebody. So.
Right. Now, let me give you one of my tips that we use. We write about 2,600, 3,000 life insurance policies a year, something like that. Right.
Yeah.
And one of our mainstay processes is we talk to the contingent beneficiary. So we know that whenever you write a life insurance policy, there's a beneficiary, but there should be a contingent beneficiary, the brother, sister, the aunt, the niece, the nephew, somebody else who knows about that life insurance policy. And then we'll always say, well, we want to talk to the contingent so that they know if something were to happen to the primary, this is what they need to do. And we still sell a boatload of insurance that way by talking to the contingent beneficiary. Yeah. So you agents out there, if you're not writing contingent beneficiaries on your policies when you write them, shame on you. Shame on you.
I'll tell you, you're going to love this. When I started with Liberty National, my boss, who's now one of my dear friends, he printed out a book of business that was not being worked. And he said, go through this book of all these policies and find people who don't have contingent beneficiaries. Mm-hmm. Call them, explain to them what it is, explain to them why it's important, and that's how you get in the door to sell other things. And literally for probably my first 8 months, that's all I was doing.
And it still works. That's the thing. I know you guys, you're one of these young bucks who believes in technology and, all this other stuff. But you heard me say a million times, technology is supposed to enhance your processes. It's supposed to make the processes that you do easier. It's not supposed to generate its own process. You know what I mean? It's, wow, how do I get to these contingent beneficiaries easier? Oh, I'll video conference with them, or I'll do a web meeting with them, or I'll build a Slack channel whatever you're doing. The key is let technology enhance the proven processes and only generate brand new processes with technology if you think that somehow that's going to lead to the results that you got with the old processes, or better results that you got.
Everybody thinks technology is supposed to replace human interaction. No. Technology is the gateway to human interaction. It enhances that human interaction, like you said.
Absolutely. One of the things that you just mentioned earlier about taking payments in the Fix My Insurance Agency workshop, shameless plug, one of the things that we talk about is how to make sure every interaction with a customer is a sales opportunity. So taking a payment, like you said, I'm looking for the policy weaknesses. I see that you don't have life insurance. I see that you have $20 a day rental. So do you plan on renting a bike if something were to happen? Because you're damn sure not getting a car with $20 a day. What's the plan here? And little things like that. And the reason why we don't do that, Brad, I'm sure, I don't know if you'll agree or disagree, but the reason why we've gotten away from that type of culture is, number one, we're embarrassed to be salespeople. I don't understand that mentality because I'm a sales guy through and through. Hell, in the Army, I was commander of Army College recruiting. I was the head of the Army College sales team. You know what I mean? So right. I've always been a salesperson, but I know a lot of agents that are embarrassed to sell. Oh, I don't want to bother them. Well, the rate, they're already paying so much. It's like, really? Now you balance their checkbook too?
Yeah. They can get that from Geico.
Yes. So they don't want to do that. So let's get back to Brad.
Yeah.
So Brad, let's talk about some of the dark stuff.
Okay.
Tell me two things you've screwed up as an agent, because we're all stage heroes. Tell me the two things that you screwed up as an agent.
So the biggest mistake that I made my first 3.5 years as an agent, at my last company, which I was at for 6 years, and I was essentially in the role of an agency principal, even though the agency was owned by corporate America.
Okay.
The biggest mistake I made is I did not keep data. In other words, if we quoted somebody and we did not write them,
That was it. No X date.
no, because, and I know that sounds silly.
And so you guys that are on the podcast, he rubbed his hands together and he threw like he was throwing something in the trash.
Sorry, I'm visual here. So
we're doing the video podcast as well. So that's why you guys that are on the audio are confused, because we're doing video podcast, but this is also audio only. So go ahead,
I would think I would be used to this by now because I do a podcast, but so we special filed it, is what we call it, meaning it went to Neverland.
Right.
It was a byproduct of the culture. I'm not saying it wasn't my fault, because it was, but when you start, you're so pedal to the metal, right, but you're not keeping your X dates, keeping your data, things like that. And I could have, if I would have done that, I could have an email, X date, text, phone call list right now where I literally don't have to market.
Right.
And so that was the biggest mistake I made. And about 3.5 years in, I realized that I needed to start doing that. And we did keep those X dates. And that's what I preach to my team. My team's back there right now. I preach to them all the time, is we have to keep those X dates, because, the more of those we keep, the better it's helping us. And I almost get more excited when we don't write somebody than when we do, because, okay, that means I can X date them. I can drip market to them. We're going to stay in front of them. We will win that account.
Right.
So that's the number one biggest mistake. The number two biggest mistake I made in the early days is I was in a position where I had people that worked for me in a CSR role, and but I did not pay them, and I wasn't necessarily the direct supervisor, and I tried to handle that the way a direct supervisor would, and I didn't necessarily handle that relationship well. And it was because I was young, and I didn't approach it with a lot of empathy, basically. And that led to us not being as successful as we could have in the early days. So
let's go a little deeper into that, because staffing is one of the issues that agents have. It's really funny. Whenever people say, I can't find good staff, in my mind, I go, well, staff can't find good leaders.
Yeah.
So that's why staff moves around so much, because they're looking for that leadership. So let's talk about that a little deeper. What specifically would you have done differently now that you look back at it?
I would have. So I had 3 CSRs that were very tenured, had probably 100 years of experience combined, and I did not understand as a young man that change takes a little bit of time. Gotcha. And people aren't going to change overnight. And when I was given the reins to the agency, I tried to change everything instead of baby steps and having empathy for this person. Like, hey, they may need a little bit more training on this technology. We may need to do a little bit more role playing with sales wise instead of just expecting them to do it. I just went into that whole deal way too headstrong, basically.
Gotcha. So I'm going to give you guys, you listeners, and you, Brad. I'm the old dog in the room, so I don't mind sharing some wisdom with you on this. Wisdom.
And I still suck at it, Billy. Like, I did a podcast with Joey Giangola about a year and a half ago, and the first question he asked was about something about leading your team, and or not leading your team, but managing a team. And I said, Joey, I'll be honest with you, like, I'm like the worst guy you could ask this question to, because my confidence level right now in that area is really low. Now, since we've opened Portal, I feel like we've done a really good job of it. So
okay. So here's a takeaway that you can have. Let's do what's known as GGO10. Okay, GGO10. This is an acronym. I'm an Army guy, so everything for me is an acronym.
Yep.
The first G is great. The second G is good. And the O is okay. The 10 is the number of things that your staff really does in a day. I know they may think they do 40 things, 50 things, but in reality, most staff really does 10 things. There are 4 things that they're great at. And that's what they gravitate to. That's what they love. That's what they want to do. And they will try to find everything they can to fit everything they do into those 4 things. The second 3 are things they're good at. So after they've done the things they're great at, then they come back and go, okay, this is what I'm good at. And then the next 3 are the things they're okay at. Like I can do it, but it's really not anything I love. It's not anything I want to do. So when you're leading a staff, let them do the things they're great at. Think of them like a horse race. Some horses are fast out the gate, and some horses are slow out the gate. Some horses are great in the turn, and you know what I mean? You have to think of your staff that way. So you need to identify, these are the 4 things they're great at, and I'm going to leave them the hell alone. I'm going to spot check them because that's my job, but I'm not going to micromanage them. In fact, I'll probably have them teach it to everybody else because this is what they're great at.
Yep.
The things that they're good at, I'm going to make sure that they write it down, that they built a checklist to say, I'm good at these 3 things, and these are the steps that I need to do. The things that they're okay at, these are the things that you start with email templates or text messaging or some other type of communication, and you let them, you don't try to change their conversation about those things, you change their action. If you change the action, the conversation will eventually change. Most agents do this backwards. They want to start with the things that people are great at and then somehow micromanage what they're great at. Leave them the hell alone if they're great at it. Okay. In fact, like I said, have them teach somebody else. So start with changing their actions on the things they're okay with. Start with having them write out or video out the things that they're good at. That way you can share it with other people. And the things that they're great at, leave them alone and let them do it. Does that make sense?
I agree 100%. And that's what I tell my team and other agents is I consider my role in relation to them is putting the right players in the right places.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
If, hey, they don't want to make cold calls, we're not going to make them make cold calls. Let's lean into your strength, you know?
Right. And that's what it is, leaning into your strengths. But agents feel like they have to micromanage everything. You have to spot check everything, but not micromanage everything.
Yep.
Because even the things that they're great at need to be spot checked. I mean, Tom Brady's the best quarterback in the world. He's the GOAT. But I promise you, Bill Belichick spot checks some of the things that he does on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want somebody to get complacent and think, okay, well, I did it right. Well, in fact, it wasn't, you know.
Okay, so let's talk about technology.
Sure.
Name 2 pieces of technology that you cannot live without. And guys, just so you know, we didn't rehearse any of these questions. We didn't go over any of this. I'm throwing it out at them. I'm letting Bradley be Bradley.
Inside or outside of the agency?
Whatever you want to do. Just 2 pieces of technology you can't live without.
This is going to sound cliche, but man, I get so much business done on my smartphone. Mm-hmm. Other than writing business, I pretty much run my agency on my phone. Okay. If I have to write a policy, I go to my computer. So my cell phone is key. I think that I think agents, people who in the past or either now are not using smartphones, I think it's costing them some business, just to be frank. There's a lot of problems that come with smartphones. We can talk about that later. But smartphone inside the agency, even more so. I'm going to tell you, man, we use Freshdesk ticketing for all of our service.
Okay.
It has been a game changer because I can look at it, I can glance at it and see all the open tickets and know what's going on in my agency day to day from a servicing standpoint without having to get into the weeds of, hey, what's going on and hear about the story and this, that, right? Mm-hmm. So that has been a real game changer. And I'll give you a third one. We have started using lob.com, LOB.com.
Okay.
Lob has the ability to have that they have an open API, and they are a service that sends letters on your behalf, literally for the same price that it costs me to walk out there and print an envelope, write it out, and send it. So any correspondence from our agency that's not super personalized, so if a cancellation letter, welcome letter, that sort of thing, we send a templated letter from lob.com, and it's really been a cool experience. It sounds silly, but I'm a guy that was blessed with absolutely god awful handwriting. Okay. And so anytime I can send a typed out letter, it's great. And literally it's 65 cents to send a letter. So with our management system has a Zapier connection. So if we need to send anything to a client, we just literally click a button in their account and it sends a letter. So.
Okay. Now you brought up agency management system. What are you guys using for your AMS?
We use NowCerts.
Okay.
They've been really good to us, being cloud-based. It's very cost-effective. They have a Zapier connection, which at the time when we did business with them, they were the only management system that had one. I think EasyLinks is piloting something. So that's what we use, and we really like it.
Okay. I think EasyLinks is actually piloting more of the App Store, right? The Salesforce App Store.
They're doing
Zapier. Are they?
Awesome. There's a Zapier pilot group, and then there's also, and then of course, I'm looking. I'll be completely frank with everybody. I will probably be one of the first 10 agencies outside of the pilot group to jump on Project Neon.
Okay.
So I literally talked to Seth this morning, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about what he's doing. I don't know where it's going to end up or whatever, but what it's going to do is it's going to change the game, whether it changes the old school to act more toward the new school, or whether it is the new school that eventually will become the old school.
Yep.
But it's going to change the game. He's pushing the industry in a direction that it needs to go. So I love Seth.
Just changing the narrative is good enough. Even if nothing happens, I think Cass and I talked about this, or maybe I was listening to a podcast with Cass and he was talking about it. I can't remember. But just change, if nothing else, changing that narrative is going to be good for the industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we need to talk about that. Everything in the world is integrated except insurance. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. All right. So you told me about some tools that you like. You told me about your AMS. You talked about some technology. Now let's talk about what you're going to be doing over the next 2 years in your agency that's going to set your agency apart from all your competitors around you.
So we are obsessed with efficiency. Whatever we can do to be more efficient, run better, faster, that's what we're focused on. Another thing that we're doing currently is I am completely enthralled with building the foundation of this agency to then become a bigger agency. In other words, I don't want to grow by $10 million in premium and then have to turn around and rip a Band-Aid off that cost us further. You see what I mean? We're doing
You're laying the foundation now to grow to the $50 million agency.
Man, every single staff meeting we have, the conversation is when we're bigger. Everything we're doing is for when we're bigger. We're doing a lot of things now that may be costing us a little bit of production, but then we're laying the groundwork for our processes and procedures. That's why I'm super excited to come to the workshop that Scott and I are coming to.
Fix My Insurance Agency. He's talking about the Fix My Insurance Agency workshop in Arlington, Texas. Thank you guys for coming. I'm excited to have you there.
Tried to make one last year. The date didn't work out, but I'm super excited. And that's literally that's really what we're working on. Technology wise, we're working on a couple of things that I think could be really, really cool. One of those I've talked about before, which is an Alexa skill that's going to integrate with our management system and allow clients to communicate with us that way. Obviously, it's been done before, but we're working on that. So that kind of stuff. We're furthering our partnerships with our lenders. We're taking sort of the Matt and Zach GNN approach. We get a lot of lender referrals. We're trying to add more lenders, make that process smoother for them. So,
Gotcha. So let me ask, if there was one thing that you could tell a new agent, because I'm going to go through a new agent, a middle agent, and an old agent. There's one thing you could tell a new agent. What would you tell them?
I got asked this question last night. Find an agent who's been doing it a while, but is not too far out of touch. Find an agent that's 4 or 5 years ahead of you that you do not mind feeling stupid in front of and asking questions that maybe hurt your ego a little bit. You know, I had my buddy Josh here in Mobile was that for me. He was about 5 years ahead of me, and man, I asked him so many questions that I'll just laugh at now. But I literally, I was about 3 weeks into business, and I called him one day, and he answered the phone and said, "Commercial insurance hotline." And I just find you someone that can kind of be your rock and your anchor, and ask 800 questions. That's honestly would be the biggest piece of advice. Don't think you know everything, because I don't know. Billy doesn't know. Nobody knows everything. Nobody
knows. All we do is practice enough to where we figure it out. I have a shirt that I have made. It says, "I'm not smart, but I can figure shit out."
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we have to do. We always have to do that. Now, my thing that I would tell a young agent is to make sure that you have a niche. Even if you sell auto, home, life, truck, whatever, I should know you for something. You should be known for something. And what it also does, guys, is it makes it easier for your referral partners. If you tell me, "Hey, send me a referral," and then I go, what do you do? And I go, "Oh, I do it all. I do everything. I'll clean your hedges. I'll cut your grass. I'll paint your." Oh, okay. You're a handyman. Got it. Okay.
I had a client.
Go ahead.
I had a client give me a business card one time, and it said lawn care, handyman, and videography.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I still have it. I still have the card. I kept it. But yes, I agree 100%. Find something that you are the best in the world at.
Right.
And lean into those things.
And even if you're not the best in the world, brand yourself that way. Like when I was an Allstate agent, which I first started, my thing was heart attack, critical care. They're called critical care policies. Now, I sold auto, home, life, all that other stuff, but no one in my area was selling critical care policies. So I would go out to the soccer fields and football fields on a Saturday, and I'd do a conference call sitting in my car. I'd hand out my cards and say, "I'm going to have a conference call. We're going to talk about accident policies and critical care policies. So little Johnny twisted his ankle while he's out here playing soccer, and you have a heart attack. I got a policy that'll cover both of those." You know, and I sold so much home, so much auto, so much everything, but that was my lead. And a lot of agents don't have a lead. Insurance agent, how can I help you? You need a lead.
Yep. I know an agent right now that leads with RV, motorcycle, four-wheeler, toys, as our friend Progressive likes to call them.
Right.
He leads with that. And he's like, if you think about it, most of the time at scale, the people that have those things have a lot more stuff to insure, and a lot of times they have money.
Yes.
And so they lead with that and then get everything else.
Well, even if they don't have money, they got enough credit or enough stupidity to have that stuff.
That's right. That's right.
So they're all good. Okay, so now what would you tell a middle agent? I'm talking that 3 to 6 million premium kind of agency.
You know, it's a funny question. I'm a guy, you know, obviously I get a lot of agents reaching out to me asking questions. I'm never going to give someone advice that I haven't at least deployed myself, or, you know, I'm never going to tell somebody to do something that I haven't done. And if I have to do that, I'm going to lead with, well, this is, if I was in those shoes, that's what I would do. And I've talked to enough agents who are at that point. My advice would be to not get complacent. I think it's easy when you start finally making a little bit of money to get complacent and kind of rest on your laurels, so to speak, and keep pushing, keep grinding, still kind of have that startup, you know, mentality. You know, the thing, I mean, Hilton should have created Airbnb.
Right.
Cab companies should have created Uber. Don't get complacent, not only because that could affect your production, but that leaves you vulnerable to being disrupted.
Gotcha. That's excellent. Excellent. And the other thing about that, I'm going to piggyback off what you just said. If you feel yourself getting complacent, hire someone around you who's not complacent.
Yes.
Okay. I can't tell you how many 60, 70, 75-year-old agents I'll go, look, go hire that 25, 45, 55, whoever, I don't care what age it is, hire someone who is still hungry because they'll keep pushing. And even when you're not pushing, they'll keep pushing your agency. So like he's saying, if you feel yourself getting complacent, try to pop out of that. But if you can't, hire someone around you who is not
Yeah.
complacent.
I was talking to a young kid last week who was calling me for advice. He was about to go work for a captive company, and one of his relatives owns a massive agency, especially in terms of the size of town that they're in.
Okay.
With the auto owners contract and the Cincinnati contract. I mean, an agency that everybody, at least around here, would be jumping at the gun to buy. I'm like, man, why don't you go work for your granddad? Man, they don't want to grow. They don't want to do that. I'm like, go be that for them.
Right.
Go do that. You know, I mean, anyway.
No, that's good. Okay. So now 65 years old, Billy, I'm so old. I've been doing this for 35 years. I got everything there. What would you tell those guys?
I've run into some cases recently with folks in that range, and don't be scared to share.
Right.
Don't be scared to help other agents. You know, just because, you know, our friend Gary Vee says, build the biggest building in town without tearing everybody else down.
Mm-hmm.
Just because someone else is successful doesn't mean, you know, you don't have to be, or, you know, vice versa. You know, these guys who've been in this business so long have so much knowledge. I'm not a young guy that looks at an established agency and thinks I can't learn anything from them. I think about it the opposite, because I want to pair what I do with what they've done so well for 30 years. Right.
Right.
So don't be scared to share your knowledge with the world and help everyone.
Got it.
I think that's key. But, you know, at the same time, also don't be scared to innovate as well. You know, it's why I love guys like Chris Paradiso and Bob Klinger and those guys, because they're at this just massive scale, but they're still innovating and they're still leading that charge.
Absolutely. 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 So, and the thing I would tell the older agents is exactly what you're saying. I always tell them, you need to form a mastermind and bring in younger agents in that mastermind. Sometimes it's time for us to teach as opposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, they say those who can't do teach. Well, sometimes we've done it so much that it's time to teach. You know what I mean?
And I think there's this attitude. I think with people, when people are on, you know, it's like Mark Cuban says, you know, work like somebody's trying to take it from you 365. Right. I agree with that. But at the same time, I think that, you know, here's the way I look at it. If a young agent were to come to me, and let's say I'm worried about him taking some of my business, right? What are the chances that he takes that business from me, or she takes that business from me, or hurts me competitively if I'm rude and don't help them, versus if I'm the most giving person in the industry to them? Right. That's the way I look at it. That's the way if we have someone that works for us that leaves to go work for another agency, hey, good luck. Wish you all the best. I think it'd be great. You know,
just don't steal my customer list. And then,
and my thing is like, if what are the chances if you're super nice to them and helpful and say, okay, you go do that. That's, okay, go do it, versus doing the opposite. Even at worst case scenario, you're going to guilt them into not doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the way I approach it. But my thing is like, a good enough manager, if you've got the kind of person who's going to steal a customer list, a good manager is going to realize that before it happens, I think.
Well, some people, when they're put under stress, they act weird. So maybe we paid them well enough and they were good. Then they went over to this other environment and we fed them leads. They get over here and this agency's like, no, we're not feeding you anything. Yeah, we pay you more money, but we're not feeding you. And then all of a sudden they get desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. So the one thing I would always tell you, make sure your paperwork supports everything that you want to do. The reason why Christianity is the way it is, and Judaism is the way it is, and Islam is the way it is because there's a book. If there was no book, then we'd have an American Indian religion that was just passed down through folklore and all this other stuff, and it changes with every person who hears it. No, there's a book. So if I get confused, I get lost, I get off track, I can go to the Bible and it will tell me what I need to do. Now, whether I listen or not, that's on me, but I got some place to go. That's how your paperwork should be in your agency. Your employee handbook should establish the culture of your agency, because it is your Bible, is the agency Bible. But your non-compete, your non-disclosure, your non-solicit, your cyber policy, your all this stuff is part of the culture that you want to set in your agency. So while I absolutely agree with you, go to the other agency, enjoy it, do well, be successful. You got any questions, give me a call. We got paperwork that says you can't steal my stuff. Okay, you can't solicit my customers. You got to non-compete for 3 or 4 years or whatever. So
and we
absolutely agree with what you're doing.
We do the non-compete, non-disclosure, non-piracy, and I tell everybody the day they sign it, I say, look, if you want to go to work somewhere else, I'm not going to stop you. Just don't screw me over.
Right. Just don't.
That's all. I'm not here to keep someone from doing something that's bettering themselves.
Gotcha.
That's not the business I'm in. I'm in the opposite business. I want them to better themselves. And if not working for me is that, hey, let's go for it.
Let's make it work. All right. So, Brad, you are an awesome guy. You came on the industry. You exploded on the industry. Your agency is doing great. Your podcast and all the other things that you're doing are awesome. When are you going to slow down? When is that actually going to happen, do you think?
Ryan Hanley asked me last week what my why was, what was motivating me. And I had a tough time with that question, because I feel like everybody, goes to the default of, provide for my family and everything. And that's part of my why. But I enjoy the game of business. I like playing the game. I was never a good athlete growing up, although I'm very competitive. I just wasn't that good. There's nothing more like literally you could be like, Billy, you could ask me, Bradley, there's one thing in the world you could do right now. What do you want to do? And I'd be like, let's go out in the parking lot and throw a football around. I love sports. I love being competitive, but I was never really that good or talented. I got good at golf through just tremendous practice and massive action. And so I like the competitiveness and the game of business. My goal is to be successful enough one day that I can play the game of business for the love of playing the game of business. And what I mean by that is if an opportunity were to come on the table to invest or sweat or consult, whatever, and it not affect my livelihood or affect my other businesses, that's my why. So I say that to say, I don't know that I'm ever going to stop.
Right. We'll die into this. Dive into this. I got it.
Man, literally this being at the office is, if I have a weekend off, it's so hard for me to be away from the office. I just love what I do so much. I love playing the game. I love talking to clients. I love working with my team. I love making new deals happen. Somebody asked me the hardest part about starting my agency last year. What was the hardest part? I said the hardest part was having to say no to a lot of really good opportunities, because I had to keep everything, the ship from sinking here. So I just love the game.
And as long as you do that, you'll do this forever. And let me tell you, you will get to a point to where your income is not affected by your passions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you have a job, it should either be your passion or fund your passion. Yeah. Right now, your job is your passion, and it's also funding the things that you love, your family and all those things.
Yeah.
But at some point, it will simply just be your passion. And that's where I'm blessed of where I am in life. I make my money investing and being part owners in an insurance agency. I do Fix My Insurance Agency and Inspire Nation because it's what I love to do. You know, absolutely. And you're going to
I'm not saying work, no family. That's not it at all.
Right.
Like when I'm with my family, and my phone and my computer are nowhere near me.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying at all. But when I'm here, I love it, and
Good.
I agree with you 100%. And I know there may be a day where I may think different of that. Things change, people grow, you know. But at least right now, that is me, dude.
Well, what's awesome is when your family comes in, like my daughter, my older son, even my younger son, who's at University of Southern California, came home from his first year of college and said, "Dad, I get it. Generational wealth." He goes, "Everybody that I hang out with in California, they've got 4 or 5 generations of wealth. You know, they got buildings named after them on campus." I said, "That's what I'm building for my family, generational wealth." So I get it.
My
Well,
6-year-old has a desk out there with her name on it.
there you go.
When I pick her up from school this afternoon, I'm going to ask her what she wants to do, and she's going to say, "I want to go to the office."
That's a wonderful thing. You're bringing her in right. Well, Brad, we're going to shut this down. Let these guys get back to work. Let these gals and gals get back to work. I'm so excited to have you attend the Fix My Insurance Agency workshop. While you're there, I think you're gonna be amazed, because I've tried to put together the absolute best implementation-based program where we're going to talk about marketing and items and all the different processes and how each piece of the process is important, and we'll increase, everything. So I think, hopefully, in my mind anyway, there's nothing like what we're doing in the industry. It's kind of like what Neon is doing, and that they're forcing a different conversation. I'm forcing a different type of workshop. I'm forcing other workshops to have to stop and go, "Oh crap, all we're doing is giving out information with no implementation. Billy's making us look bad. We better get on board with this."
Yep.
So that's what I want. Well, Brad, thank you so much for your time today. I absolutely appreciate you taking the time to be here with me, and I look forward to everything you're doing over at Portal, and I look forward to seeing you and Scott at Fix My Insurance Agency.
Hey, Billy, thanks so much, man. Thank you for your service to our country, and I've admired you for a long time. I originally heard podcasts you did with Jason Cass like 4 years ago, and it's just very, very humbling to have you on here. And any of your listeners or you need anything from me, just please reach out.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it so much.